Satan wants to be worshiped. That's all he wants. He doesn't want to be president of the United States, prime minister of England, or any other nation. He doesn't want Air Force One. He doesn't want to be LeBron James. He doesn't want to be the king of England. He wants worship. That's all he wants. He wants to be worshiped. The reason why he wants to be worshiped is clear and simple. In his present state, he asked Jesus, he said, Jesus, I'll give you the kingdoms. All these kingdoms. If you will worship me. That's all I want. I don't want the kingdoms. I want worship. I want worship from you, Jesus. I want you to worship me. And not just you, but I want every other single solitary person that breathes on planet Earth to worship me. I don't even want money. I don't want private jets. I don't want those things. I want one thing from humanity, and that's to be worshiped. And let me tell you why. Satan is a failed, corrupt, and unforgivable demonic spirit. It doesn't mean anything for him to have a private jet. It doesn't mean anything for him to be the president of the United States. It doesn't mean anything for him to be a great recording star or a major athlete. He's a demonic spirit. He cannot transition to flesh. These things are designed for the flesh. To be an athlete or to be a president or to be a king. These are things that are designed for the flesh. Satan has no way of inhabiting or being flesh. He's a demonic spirit. Now, what he does do, and though he does quite well, is that as a spirit, he inhabits already flesh, the flesh of individuals, persons. He'll get inside of them, take full control of their mind, their body, and will operate them. But still, to him, it means nothing. He was not designed. Satan is a pre-creation entity. In many ways, his spiritual dynamics is beyond explanation. Before God said, let there be sun, let there be light, let there be heaven and earth, let us make man, Satan already existed. It's like a newborn baby just came from the mother's womb in the delivery room a day ago, and all of a sudden, you want to get inside that, you want to be that baby. I don't think so. Satan has no use for the mechanics of this world, for the seats, for the airplanes, the money. He has no use for it. What he wants, because he's a spirit, a demonic failure, and one that cannot be forgiven, he wants to be worshiped. That's all he wants. Let me put it to you this way. It's a little bit personal, a little bit self-serving even, and if you get upset by it, that's not my intent to upset you, but please forgive me if you do. You know, I'm a fairly recognizable person. I'm fairly, if you will, potentially, of the criteria of successful human beings. I've garnered some success and have the potential to garner success. I have a fair amount of education, fairly well spoken. I could at this moment, well, the potential could be that I could embrace, let's say, Black Lives Matter. And get out when Black Lives Matter and marching in New York City, make sure I'm at the head of the line. I could embrace Barack Hussein, the long-legged Mac Daddy Obama. Talk about how wonderful he is, and how great, how wonderful it is to have a black president. Right? I could defend Andrew Brown or Trayvon Martin. I could even embrace LGBTQ, perform marriages on live television of man with man. I could do all of that. And do you know the world would love me? I'd be one of their rising stars. I'm well-spoken, a little bit of charismatic activity, not, been around the barn, fairly educated. I got a little something going for me. I do. I mean, come on now. It may offend you, but come on. I got a little something going for me. I could embrace the LGBTQ, embrace Obama, embrace Black Lives Matter. I could embrace all of that and praise it to the high heavens. Do you know how well I'd be well taken care of? Oh, Lord. Do you know what the world would do for me? Do you know what kind of a pedestal they put me on? Do you know how high and exalted and lifted up I would be if I praised those things? I'm not going to, you know that. But I thought that would startle you to let you see that's all Satan wants of me. That's all he wants. But that he gets it from a whole lot of other, if not nearly everybody else. He gets it from them and they get the glory. No, It's clear. No. I put together my bio, the things that in the short time I have lived, without distance, 100 men would have to live to do all the things I've done in such a short brief period of time. I have it going on. You can get offended, and please forgive me if you do. Satan would love to have me on his team. He would love to have me praising Obama. He'd love to have me praising LGBTQ. He'd love to have me black man. He'd love to have me with Black Lives Matter. He would love it. What a jewel in his crown. Now you see why. All Satan wants is worship. And you see why I won't give it to him? But you see the others that do and what they get in return for doing it? All he wants is worship. Because he cannot experience earth through the creation process or he's a spirit. Now, the thing that I find uber fascinating is that Jesus was born of the flesh. No such thing has ever happened. That Jesus and Satan was at one point, now don't have enough time today to go through this thoroughly. Next time you and I get together, we'll pick it up on it, but go to Job chapter 1, verse 6. Satan is still in many categories considered a son of God. You didn't know that, did you? Oh, yes, he is. I'll explain it to you without being blasphemous in Job chapter 1, verse 6. And he still has the opportunity because of dynamics that were long before God said, let there be light. Satan has the opportunity to go to heaven anytime he wants to go there. He can walk into heaven anytime he wants. He's still considered a son of God. He is. I'm telling you, may not like it. And when all other sons of God come together, Satan can go there too. The problem is that he was created long before earth, and he cannot experience creation. He has to do what is known as demonic possession. He has to possess an innocent person, take over them, and perhaps his greatest achievement of all is the LGBTQ gender, if you will, decimation, possession. Because if you are LGBTQ, either one of those alphabets, you are possessed by a demon. And that's his greatest achievement so far. And in the end days, which we're now in, it is understood that is his greatest achievement. But he can't enjoy, he can't even enjoy a glass of wine and a nice lamb chop. He can't. He's not created for such. He has to take over a person's body and mind. He's taken over the Catholic Church. He's taken over the Jewish. He's taken over the Democratic Party, taken over the Republican Party, taken over America. He's taken over Moscow. He's taken over Southern Baptist. He's taken over, and he has given to people like Joel Osteen, who have bowed down and worshiped him, uber power. Because the kingdom of such a ministry that Franklin Graham or Billy Graham belongs to the devil. You don't get it. You don't get that unless you bow down to him. Now, I'm coming back to that. The fascinating dichotomy between Jesus and Satan, who knew each other when they encountered each other there in the garden, is that Jesus was born of the flesh and Satan has not been given such a characterization. Let me say this to you, that if the Catholic Church or the Protestant Church or the Apostolic or the Pentecostal or the Baptist or the Jewish faith, if they were 10% of them were righteous, God would not do what we would now know as the tribulation by killing everybody on planet Earth, the way he did during the days of Noah when he killed everybody in the flood, or as he did in the days of Sodom and Gomorrah, where he killed everybody in the days of Sodom and Gomorrah. He said if there were just 10 people in Sodom and Gomorrah that were righteous, I'd spare the whole city and they'd all live. But there weren't 10, and they're not 10 now. Now he is calling for 50,000 righteous men. It's what my call has been according to the Lord Jesus Christ. But he's going to destroy planet Earth. We know that. You know that he is. And no God, nobody, no God, not even the devil, would destroy something if it was serving his purposes. Jesus would never have prophesied the destruction of the temple in Jerusalem or the destruction of all of planet Earth, every kingdom, every nation, every kindred, every tongue, every people, every person, every mountain, every molehill. He would not have pronounced the destruction of that if it too was serving his purpose. And he's talking about these institutions call themselves churches today. He's going to destroy and kill everybody in them. Now, you don't have to take that. You don't have to believe it. But I don't know how you're going to tell Jesus that he's not going to do it. But I can tell you that he is. And I can tell you this, and you don't have to believe this either. When he comes back, he's coming back to 123rd Street. When Jesus returns, and I love the teaching about Western civilization. Those of you who are historically understanding and you understand and I'm going to get into in more detail. I get the opportunity in the Sabbath worship to talk about the establishment of Western civilization. How on earth did the Western civilization get established, seeing it's across the Atlantic Ocean from the Eastern civilization? How did God ever establish Western civilization? Because when Columbus came, people were already here. How did that happen? We have no biblical account of that. That is fascinating. But when he returns, it'll be to Western civilization, more specifically to 123rd Street in Harlem, New York. You don't have to believe that, but you can at least pray about it. You ought to be judicial enough to say, well, I don't believe him, but I need to present an argument that says that it isn't going to happen. But this much we can be clear about is that if humanity was serving his purpose, there would not be the need to destroy this planet and call for a new one. I mean, it's pretty clear. He's coming back to Harlem when he comes back, and I'm his servant. When he lands the second time, it will be in this community formerly known as Harlem. Let me say this before I let you go. I want to ask you to consider accepting that truth. And just think what my life would be like if I decided to embrace Black Lives Matter, or embrace Obama, or embrace blackness and defend people like Andrew Brown or Michael Brown or Trayvon Martin. Or if I embraced LGBTQ and said, man, and myself perform marriages. Imagine the wealth that I would have. Imagine how often you see me on the news and, and all the people of the community would be worshiping and saying what a great preacher and great pastor I am. You do know that would happen, right? I want you to consider that I will not and never under any circumstance, nor the threat of death, ever go anywhere near thinking about doing anything as satanic as that. But what I do want to ask you to do is to consider my righteousness. I'm the Lord's servant, and you might want to help me. You might want to say, well, listen, you know, especially if you're at retirement age and your life is settled and your income's, you're pretty much settled for the rest of your days, but you have excess, so you have what you can give, or you can make this ministry. You can further this word to reach the 50,000 righteous men through your giving. Maybe you have stocks, or you have bonds, or you have properties, houses, or land, or jewelry that you could just give to the ministry, cars, automobiles, paintings. I'm just going to give them to that ministry. If Jesus is coming back to Harlem, to 123rd Street, then I want to give my possessions to prepare a place for him. Jesus said he's going to prepare a place for us, but I'm going to give my possessions, my paintings, my gold, my jewelry, my stocks, my land, my property, my houses, to prepare a place for him when he comes back, that the land would truly be holy ground for James David Manning as his servant. Thank you for doing that. You'll know how to give. The Lord will show you how, but start doing it immediately. Time is of the essence. This is symbolic. It's where Jesus was baptized. It's where John baptized. And so this is not a rebaptism. It's just a symbolic, if you will, act of what we're going to do, being in the water at the place where Jesus was baptized. And what I'd like to do is to baptize today, that we would come to terms with the understanding of what God is calling for in righteousness. He's not calling for prosperity. He isn't calling for culturalism. God is calling for righteousness. If we would commit ourselves to fulfill all righteousness, and God has calls us to be persecuted for righteousness' sake, as John was persecuted for righteousness, and so Jesus. I got to tell you that I'll never forget this experience of actually stepping in the water where Jesus were baptized, and where John has baptized so many people. This is such a historic and a powerful, powerful sight. Just to touch the water was so critical. And I'm glad that people got baptized to have that experience. It was a safe experience and a great experience. I'm not even going to change my clothes. I want to just stay in baptism mode until I get back to the hotel. So that's what I want to say. All right.
This has been live from the Jordan River. God bless you all. Peace.
Righteousness. Boom, chakalaka goes right there.
Over the years, we have served more than 1 million meals to hungry bellies and hungry people here in the Harlem community. And I wanted you to be able to see that. I want you to see our involvement with youth, our summer youth programs, our courtyard being used as a place where children can be safe, guarded, and protected as they have their miniature swimming pools. And a safe place for children to eat that is guarded, that is protected by our own sense of security, and the wholesome and fresh meals that we serve. We wanted you to be able to see the mission of this church. And we've been doing this for years. Just recently, one of our members, more than a 30-year member of this church, but it hasn't, not one that that you would probably find as members of some other churches with their nose stuck up in the air. But her father is now close to death, or very sick, in the state of South Carolina. And I said to her, well, because she doesn't have money, I said, we will buy you a bus ticket, a round trip bus or train ticket for you to travel to South Carolina to be with your father in this time of pandemic. There's very little funding around. There's sickness everywhere. And the thing that just blew me away was she said, as she was talking to Elizabeth, she said, but how are you going to do that? To pay for me a round-trip ticket to travel and give me expense money? And because Pastor Manning has to feed the children, he has to educate the children, he has to buy school supplies for them, he has to pick them up in the mornings and take them back, and then he's got the ministry he has to take care of, all the bills of running the church, of keeping a major house like our house operational, keep the lights on, how are you going to be able to do that? And she was almost reluctant to take the money because she felt that it would be better served by feeding the children. We gave it to her anyway. But we want you to know that we do a work in this community. There have been a lot of lies told on us. And it's almost unimaginable why some of the people that have lied on us. But I can tell you behind all of it is the LGBTQ community. They don't want us to be successful, but we are, and we're going to continue to be successful in serving the meals that we're serving and serving the people that we are. And the LGBTQ community will not take us down. They are not going to take our church. Yet they have defamed us. They've written ugly newspaper articles about us. They've marched against us. They've done a whole lot of ugly things. But you see what we have done, and that's not even the half of our service to children and to the needy in terms of our homeless shelters and the things that we've done over the years. And we will continue. And probably the lies and the smears and the ugly newspaper articles and the wicked spirits and the so-called I ain't for the black man, that is not going to go away. I don't expect it to go away. I don't. But I do tell you this, that we will succeed against all of that, for God is with us, and I am his servant.